Hello and welcome to the virtual panel discussion on top tech trends for 2024 and beyond. I'm your host, Sukriti. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today for this conversation. Now, before I go ahead and introduce you to our panelists, let's know what's in the agenda and what conversation it's going to be all about today. So, with the rapidly evolving landscape of technology, we've witnessed faster changes in progress. Now, significant advancements are made every year, shaping our future and accelerating the entire rate of change. As the new trends and technologies emerge, IT professionals also feel a huge shift in their jobs and opportunities. And they've realized that there are roles in any organization which will remain crucial for years. However, they need to learn, unlearn, and probably relearn to make a promising career. Now they have to stay updated with everything that is latest in the technology and upskill themselves to secure a lucrative job, let's just say. As developers, you should always keep your eyes on the future and spare no effort to reach, the goals, the ambitions that you have. While we are in the 6 months into 2024, and the tech horizon seems very exciting already. The year promises amazing new trends that will transform industries, revolutionize our lives, and redefine the way we actually interact, we deal, and we probably do our businesses. There is so much to look forward to, and right from quantum computing to renewable energy to metaverse and much, much more. So we are here to tell you, as IT professionals, what you should consider learning, unlearning, and relearning. Not out of necessity, if you desire, if you do not desire about it, in 2024. And I am here with some amazing tech leaders who are here to actually talk about these trends and help you understand and give you a preview of what lies in the future. Folks, please join me in welcoming, and I'm so delighted to have Akhilesh Dureja, who is the partner and national leader technology, media and telecom from KPMG India. Anita Kemanda, who is the senior director, digital employee experience, digital transformation service now. Deepak Vishwasariya, who is the vice president, platform engineering and site managing director of Ecosystems. Dr. Rahul Ghosh, senior director, data science, Walmart Global Tech. And Josefa Motiwala, who is the director, systems engineering, India, SARC at Palo Alto Networks. Now, before I go ahead with, while asking you questions, getting into the discussions, I would want all of you to give us a, quick round of introductions about each other. So, Akhilesh, let's just start with you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akhilesh. I've been with KPMG for, earlier I used to say a few years, then I said a few decades, now I say for a quarter a century. Every day has been a great day, so looking forward to a lot more. I do two kinds of things in my current role. One is I try and look for what technology could do for the business of our clients to make it better, smarter, and more effective. That's my one job. And the second one is I equally invest my time to make sure that all the things that you're doing make us trusted and secure as we continue to harness the power of technology.
Thank you, Akhilesh. Anita.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anita Manda. I am with ServiceNow for over 3.5 years, but I also have a couple of decades, I would say, of experience. I come from an area we believed in writing the code from the scratch, but now we see that there are so much, the code that is built, and from text to code or low code, no code, the generation has changed, the trends have changed. So my passion is to keep me updated with what is happening with the latest. My day job is, to look for employee experiences within the organization, do a lot of digital transformations, keeping on top of what the trends are. So really looking forward to having this wonderful conversations on the future trends. So thank you for inviting me, Sukriti.
Thank you, Anita. Deepak.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Deepak Vishwasariya. I kind of play two roles for Pega. I'm the Vice President of Platform Engineering, responsible for developing what's known as Pega Platform, Pega Infinity, out in the market, and then that's one part of the job. And then I'm also the Managing Director for Pega India, and then run all of India operations as well. So having being a technologist, grew up as one, and then been in the industry for about 35 years. And it's been a phenomenal ride, as Akhilesh was talking about. It's a great new day every day.
Thank you so much, Deepak. Rahul.
Thank you, Sukriti, for inviting me in this forum. Hi, everyone. I'm Rahul. I'm a Senior Director of Data Science at Walmart Global Tech. I lead data science for Walmart's energy transformation programs, facilities services, store remodels, e-commerce personalization, among few other areas. Had been in this area for 1.5 decades, I would say, across different organizations. Right now, my core focus is in the intersection of AI and large-scale systems and how that impact all of us. So really happy to be part of this forum and look forward to the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Josefa?
Thanks, Sukriti. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I think we all share the one common thing is decades of experience. I think that's coming in pretty handy coming into this conversation. Again, 25, 26 plus years of experience, but everything is centered around data. I think after my family, if there is anything which is close to me is data. And I'm just happy and privileged that I was involved in managing it, securing it, and now the cusp of getting into this next revolution of maximizing and making more out of data using AI is just so exciting. I lead the pre-sales team for Palo Alto Networks India Solution Architects. I'm the director for that. So my team engages with a lot of customers, people who are probably listening right now, architecting solution. I'm based in Mumbai, but usually found on airports.
Thank you so much, Josefa. All right, so that was the panel for today that I'll be conversating with. Before I move ahead, there are top 4 technologies precisely that we'll be touch basing with our leaders today. AI code generation tools, cybersecurity, generative AI and AIOps, IoT, and hyperconnected in AI integrated devices. Now, all of us know that AI has been in and out of our lives for the past couple of years. And no matter what you do, even if you're writing an email, you have an AI in your system. It's very simple that I can actually put you through when it comes to explaining how it has been into the smallest and the wettest way that we look at using AI in our lives. Now, to start with our leaders, and before they answer our questions, there are simple things that we should always start with. So I would want to know from all of you, if you could just name top 3 trends for 2024 and beyond, and then we deep dive into these 4 technologies. So I think we can start with Akhilesh. Akhilesh, what are the top 3 trends that you can just give me names here? Yeah.
My first one is that there'll be a lot of productivity disappointments. People would expect magic to happen. It won't happen in the short term. My second trend is that AI will help bad actors before it helps the good actors. It will help good actors for sure, but it'll possibly do that for the bad actors first. My third one is that digital trash will reach the new heights, and we will see a lot of digital trash pile coming up. And if you allow me to go with the 2 bonus ones, the good ones, I would say that 80% of the use cases we are talking about technology today will be negative return, but those 20% which will be positive return will exceed the value expectation of all that investment which we do. And my last one is that hardware is no longer commodity.
Okay. I am sure, audience, please, you should sit with a pen and a paper and make note of what our leaders are telling you, because after this, what we are detailing out is, that just might be very different from what we are talking right now. Anita, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think if I say AI, I think I'm already late. So this is not something that I would like to say. Will AI take away all the jobs? That is what has been discussed. I don't think so. There will be new trends, new roles emerging. There will be new ways of working together. Like I was mentioning earlier, we don't think about starting from scratch. So definitely there are new ways of doing work. So being open to that new ways of learning and keeping ourselves updated is something that is definitely going to be a trend. The upskilling is the way to go. The second thing that really resonates with me is the sustainability aspect of the whole thing. We talk about responsible AI, we talk about ethical AI. So I would say sustainability and green technologies will have definitely a long way to go. The platform companies, the product companies like ServiceNow are also putting their head around the products like ESG and stuff like that. So a lot of traction around that with the hydropower, the solar power that we are seeing, So I would say green innovation, green tech can be one of that. And we are in a very good space right now to leverage whatever we have developed today, like whether it is the IoTs or the hyper-connectedness, or, AI is bringing a lot of these things together. So that is the trend. I think we should put our head around, how we can do things differently. Innovation is the key. So get innovative, think differently. I think that is where, the trend is going to be. Yeah.
All right, Deepak.
All right, I have I guess looking at it through an optimistic lens of purely technology orientation, and I'm focusing a little bit of the beyond, not just 24, but looking at beyond 24 kind of thing, right? As we all talked about, the traditional AI is fine. I mean, we've been using it for decades, so it is not anything that is new. Where I think the first one, in my view, the generative AI and advanced machine learning. I think that combination, those two things coming together, I think is going to be a big trend in the next few years, and more near term than longer term for that matter. My second thought process that's making, actually, I think that has a huge potential to be able to bring certain applications in various technologies is the quantum computing. I think a lot of companies are actually putting in a lot of investment in being able to do research. And I think the ability to be able to solve complex problems, I think, comes from the quantum computing capabilities. And then the third one I'll go with is 5G and beyond. A lot of companies have already started researching on 6G. There are so many, ultra low latency, use cases that are coming up in the future, including IoTs, autonomous automobiles, and everything else. We talked about metaverse earlier, right? I mean, that's what you need to be able to make them all real. So those are the three that I will go with as top ones.
All right, Josefa.
Yeah, thanks, Sukriti. My top three, and I obviously concur with what Akhilesh, Anita, Deepak have already said, but if I have to choose my three, the first one is the impact of Gen AI and AIOps. And I think you mentioned at the start that, it's so easy for an employer, anybody, to just use third-party email connector and get a beautiful email out. The scary part is we're dealing with shadow IT. Now we're pretty good soon start with dealing with shadow AI, chat GPT or whatever equivalent you want to call it, Gen AI. Recent survey said that out of 14,000 workers that Salesforce surveyed, 55% of them were using unsanctioned, unapproved Gen AI to work, right? And it's very obvious, right? Because of the automation of complex tasks, service management, the entire ops piece of it is going to be, I would say, revolutionized. So I would say Gen AI and AI ops is the first one. The second thing, which is a marriage made in heaven, is IoT and AI, right? By sheer way of AI's ability to process this massive amount of data that an IoT will generate, and the ability to provide that rich telemetry data, so which needs to be fueled for a machine learning perspective. We are talking about a 2025, 55.7 billion connected IoT devices generating close to 80 zettabytes, that's ZB, right? Data. And so that's a massive amount of data to work with. So that's a combination which is really, really heady. And last but not the least, my favorite, fighting AI with AI. So, the entire threat landscape is going to change. I think Akhilesh touched upon it in terms of the bad actors would leverage first before it comes to good. And that fight cannot be done by humans. So you have to have AI fighting with AI. That's pretty much my top three.
Thanks, Josefa. Rahul.
There is always a benefit in going last because you can pick and choose a few things from your fellow panelists, right? So, that aside, while there are many technologies like AI and quantum computing, that have received significant attention in 2024, in my mind, there are three fundamental trends that I want to call out. One is advancements in next generation computer hardware systems, especially for accelerated computing. Second would be achieving operational excellence in development, deployment, and management of complex technologies. That's going to be, more and more important. And the third is really the rise of new internet scale hyper-connected applications and services. That's also a new trend that we would see going forward. So I'll keep it short and simple there.
All right, I think pretty well summed up from all three of you, five of you, in terms of your expertise and your domains that you are into. Before I, jump to the main discussion and I go ahead and shoot questions to each one of you, audience, we'll open the Q&A forum around 12:50. So please drop in your relevant questions that our industry leaders can actually answer, and we'll try and pick them up once our discussion is, that we come to an end to it. Okay, now to precisely start with, Deepak, I would like to start with you. The rise of the developer co-pilot is something that we've been listening to. How are AI and generative AI code generation tools and low-code platforms reshaping the entire developer landscape? And what skills do you think will developers need to strive in this evolving ecosystem?
Great question to start with. I think we can probably spend all day talking about it too, for that matter. But firstly, I think the notion of leveraging generative AI tools to generate code, right? People relate generating code to developers automatically, right? Because that's what most of the developers do, or that's what at least people think most developers do. But it is really a lot more than just writing code. Right? And if you think about it, there are low-code platforms or other tools, some IDEs, whatever that people have used for decades, in terms of being able to develop software, right? And then if you think about it, if you just the notion of just developing code, the notion of being able to generate code is only, if you continue to generate more code and more code, all you're actually building is a technical debt at the back, right? The more code that you generate is actually you're building technical debt. So the point that most companies are actually looking for is not just about generating code. It's about really being able to efficiently use some of this, these tools to be efficient and productive, in that sense. We talked about this whole, rise of the developer co-pilot kind of thing, right? If let's take that for a second. AI, code generation tools, low-code platforms, as I said, have been there, but they are now actually transforming the ability to be able to work or to do software development, the entire aspect of software development, right? For example, a Pega generative AI blueprint is a great example of that. If somebody wants to really think about how do I build a blueprint of an application, great use case for something like that. These tools actually typically act as co-pilot for developers in the sense that they actually do some of the grunt work to make them better, but it will allow them to actually look at higher order things like, you want them to be great problem solvers. You want them to focus on system design. You want them to be, building, strategic decisions into the product areas or what have you, right? So this kind of shifts allows developers to be able to do things faster, to be able to bring, products or what have you, in a much lesser time to market, to that. For example, in PegaWorld 2023, we announced actually on the main stage by our CEO that we will actually improve developer productivity 2x in 1 year. And we went back, to PegaWorld this year, just this last month, 2024. where we actually showed what we have actually been able to bring out in the platform that will actually help developers, improve their productivity, to 2x, right? Platforms like these actually help people automate processes, make real-time decisions, enable essentially what we refer to as citizen developers or business developers in being able to build something to have conversations with technology experts, right? And in terms of making that easier. Remember R2D2 from Star Wars? I don't know how many of you, I know I'm making myself dated by saying that, but I still love it, from that perspective. Imagine him not just, R2D2 beeping and waiting around somebody, but actually offering code suggestions or automated, repetitive tasks for someone like Luke Skywalker, for that matter, right? So that's the kind of future of, co-pilot, if you will, in my mind. The other part of the question you had about the impact on developer skills and what have you, equally as much, as this whole aspect of generative AI and low-code platforms causing or revolutionizing in terms of how software development is done, the demand on the traditional skills is also as much on a developer, right? I think, or I actually say, I believe writing complex algorithms from scratch actually would decrease as we move forward here, right? However, as I talked about earlier, I think the need for ability to be able to problem solve, right? Really strong problem solving capabilities, critical thinking capabilities, ability to be able to design and architect systems, those all actually will only increase in my mind. Even with the advent of generative AI, I think we will need people to be able to have those skills. That's where I would say people would really need to focus on. Additionally, I think the soft skills become even more important because the business, folks actually also can leverage technology to be able to build prototypes and what have you. But the ability to be able to have those conversations and collaborate, both communication and collaboration, becomes so much more important, from a skill set point of view. So just like how, let's say, professional athletes adopt their training to or with leveraging new technologies or what have you. Think of what Indian cricket team actually have done just this last week to win the T20 World Cup, how they've changed the entire face of their playing method or what have you. Developers need to be able to upskill and stay relevant, for that matter. Right? So learning to work with AI effectively will be, in a way, I would say that the new performance enhancing drug, if you will, in the athletics parlance. That's what I would say for developers. So let me just conclude by sharing a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, which is always kind of stuck with me, is that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams, right? So the developer landscape, we know, is changing rapidly. Embracing that change, embracing AI and low-code solutions, and then building the skill set. Developers who can actually do that, will be the most valuable assets moving forward. Is some of my thoughts.
Absolutely, Deepak. I think I echo your thoughts onto this. And in fact, when you talk of the entire changing landscape that you, just pointed out, I think the developers and the technologists are the people who will be the change makers of these, future that we actually are trying to perceive here. Thank you so much for that. I will now move to Akhilesh, that's facing the second very important technological trend in today's time. So, Akhilesh, cybersecurity peaked. All of us know that during the pandemic and has seen tremendous growth since then. And now that we see more emerging expertise in the market, what are the key highlights of the cybersecurity professionals, as well as the organizations who are adopting it at this point in time? Because a lot of things are still going on for a lot of companies and for professionals to have an expertise in this field.
Cybersecurity as a field has seen tremendous attention from all sides because the increased attention from all companies to trying to protect their assets. There is no denying that more technology you will use, the more protectionist you will need. Before I tell you what's happening in the cybersecurity now, let me take you back 100 years. 100 years ago, we saw advent of electricity. And that was the time, without going into detail, the Edison and others were trying to fight as to whose technology is better, whether it's AC or DC. And of course, the battle settled another way. But for the initial few years, when people wanted to use electricity in their plants to power manufacturing and other industrial processes, the biggest challenge it brought in was that it could electrocute you. Such a great technology, which was so powerful, which we all use today and all our kids can use it easily, it was dangerous. It was extremely difficult to contain and use electricity effectively. Today's digital technology is like the electricity of 100 years ago. And we need protection to make sure that that superpower electricity, that AI or the new code and code gen, which you're all talking about, how do we make sure that that remains as controlled and protected? And we can use that as easily as a 2-year-old can use electric bulb today. And therefore, there'll be a journey. It is not going to happen very, very easily. There's a lot of learning required in the process to make sure that what does it cost to have these challenges. Now, one added disadvantage we have when it comes to cybersecurity compared to electricity is that there are no adversaries. It was electricity which you're trying to understand, but here there are people who benefit from our mistakes, and therefore they will take advantage. So we actually have a double disadvantage when it comes to today's digital technology and cybersecurity challenges. There are several learnings I've had in the process, and I would like to share with those who are building careers or enhancing their careers in cybersecurity and what organizations should do. My first point is, if you are somebody responsible for making your organization secure, don't invest all your time in learning new technology. People like Deepak, Anita, and Josefa, they will bring new technology every day. Don't waste your 100% of the time in learning those. You will get there. That's an easy part in my view. They will also come and teach you how to use that technology. But what nobody will teach you, which is more important, is that learn economics. You will have more choices to make than you can. You will need to have the ability to choose from many options to put your bets on. So learn economics. Economics is a bigger problem for cybersecurity experts today than learning technology. They don't know if I got $100, where do I put that $100? Because $100 will never be enough to buy all security which you can. So how do you make a very informed and a very business specific bet on the kind of technology you invest in? So learn economics. The second thing is that most of the attacks are not going to come from technology alone. They will come from stupid use of technology. And therefore, learn behavioral sciences. You need to influence people's behavior more than you have to configure technology. There'll be a lot of good people, and as I said, that whether it is people like Anita or Deepak, they'll build technology which you can configure well. But how do you configure people well? It's a skill which you need to learn. So the second skill which you need to learn is behavioral sciences. And then the third one, which is very important skill you need to invest your personal time on, is negotiation skills. Whether it's about negotiating more budgets from your boards to get money for improving cybersecurity, or it is negotiating with an attacker when you've been attacked, that skill will come very handy. And sometimes you may also need this negotiation skill to make sure that you can retain your staff, because cybersecurity is such a growing field. They will get better jobs somewhere more paying. So you learn negotiation skills to make sure that you can retain your staff. So that's my first thing. Learn 3 skills: learn economics, learn behavioral science, and learn negotiation skills. The second part, which I think the organization and professionals should really focus on, is how do we build resilience rather than building protection? Because there's no way you can protect everything. Things will go wrong. So learn to live with the thing that things will go wrong. So how do you deal with things when things go wrong? The next one is build human firewalls, because technology firewalls somebody else will build, but human firewalls you need to build. You need to make your people. And I get angry when people tell me saying that they run security awareness session for their people. And I can tell you, you could not waste your money more than by just doing those 30-minute security awareness sessions. And if any of you felt that security awareness sessions are useful, come and talk to me, because I will tell you how to lose weight, but I can't lose weight. So just because I know how to lose weight doesn't make me lose weight. So just because you know how to protect yourself does not make you protect. And my last point is a very important point, is that please tell the board and the senior management what you're not responsible for. There's a lack of awareness and sensitization on the minds of the senior people. They believe that I have now appointed a chief security officer, sure, he will take care of everything. And that's not possible. In fact, the kind of cybersecurity issues we are dealing with today, the CISOs don't even have purview on them. If somebody goes and makes a stupid mistake, how can I hold responsible to one person whose person is really struggling to just get even budgets in place? So please go and educate your boards on what you're doing, but equally important to tell them that what you're not doing and what you're not responsible for. Those are some of my pieces of advice.
Thanks, Akhilesh. I think those were some commendable points that you brought to the table. Reason being, we only tend to stick to the technology part, and rarely actually, even people talk about things that actually, help us implement those things, right? So that awareness that you've brought in today's conversation is absolutely commendable. Thank you so much for that. Now, very pertinent to what you've just spoken about in terms of the defense mechanism, the resilience that we need to build in the organization, I would, move to Josefa. Josefa, what is the role of AI? Since we've been speaking and we know that, AI is almost everywhere. Let's just, help us understand what is the role of AI in cybersecurity, and how is it actually revolutionizing the entire threat landscape? Because resilience, as Akhilesh mentioned, is one of the most important things, because we cannot protect everything. And what should be done on the defense mechanisms here?
Yeah, thanks, Sukriti. Great question. And I want to pick up from where Akhilesh left that. Yeah, there are adversaries in this field. And if I have to grow the analogy of cricket, and which is the flavor of the season, they're like the bowler and you're the batsman. Right? They just need to get one good ball, right? And you need to ensure that you keep defending. And they just need one good ball, and that's what the adversaries are. They're deep pockets. They just need to get in once. 100 out of 99 times you can keep blocking, but one successful attempt and now everything is done. And let me now tell you very interestingly, AI and cybersecurity is such a deadly combination on both sides, right? How from an attack perspective and from a defense perspective also. On the attack, AI is expanding the horizon of cyber threats in three ways, right? Number one, they are able to reach far more target with ease. And allow me to elaborate each one with an example. I don't know, a lot of the audience here and some of my co-panelists would have heard in December 2020, they had this SolarWinds attack. I don't know how many of you know. There's a SolarWinds Orient software, very popular IT management and monitoring software. The attackers cracked the original code, one of the patch, and the malicious code were downloaded by close to 18,000 customers. And out of those 18,000 customers, 55% were confirmed to have been infected, because all the attacker had to do was the vulnerable code was already there. Go ahead. You know why 55% and why not entirely? Because there's one step in that entire attack cycle which was manual. So the attacker had to get in and do that manual command and control. With AI, our researchers say that they could have also automated that. So instead of 55%, all 18,000, 100% would have been compromised. So just imagine the targets that has been reached, the expansion that is there and it is. So that's number one. Number two, a very favorite thing in cybersecurity, or dreaded thing, I would say, is the dwell time, which means I've quietly come into your environment. I'm sitting there, I'm reconnaissancing thing, I'm moving laterally, I'm going to your crown jewels, which is your data, and I'm exfiltrating out. In the good old days, this entire cycle, the attack life cycle, used to take close to 45, 50, 60 days. It started coming down last year. It was around 13 days. One attack which happened very recently, the entire cycle, which means reconnaissance, finding vulnerability, getting inside, moving in your system, getting the data and out, was 13 hours. And this is without AI. If AI was used, and they would have, automated a lot of these steps in terms of how do I get in and find the crown jewels and move out, this entire cycle would have been done in 3.5 hours. Just imagine that. Are we really equipped? Somebody can attack, move around, take my data out in 3.5 hours. So moving with lightning speed is the number two part that we should all be looking up to. And last but not the least, which is another thing in cybersecurity, is known attack and unknown attack. If known attack is something which happened anywhere in the world, and I quickly build my database and I say I'm ready for it. Unknown attack is never seen before. So AI, the adversaries are using some of the jailbroken LLMs, and kid you not, just look up Worm GPT, which will give you even more greater and newer malwares to go and attack. So you're dealing with 0-day attack practically every day. So this is what I typically would like to call the veracity, volume, and variety is completely changing with AI from a threat landscape. Now let's shift gears. If that's what we are up against, and I said this is not a human problem to solve, we can't just throw in more humans, start looking everywhere and try and solve it. We can do it, according to me, in 3 areas, and that's where the AI in portion from a cybersecurity perspective comes in. First, number one, we have to counter AI with AI. I think I said this in the first part itself. What it means is your existing tools which you're using from a cybersecurity, from a prevention detection perspective, they all need to be incorporated with deep learning and machine learning capability, which means the moment you see some anomaly, some new thing never seen before, your software, your prevention software, your cybersecurity tool needs to quickly analyze this large data, those signals across, not just from one source on my endpoint, or this new file which has come in, or this new connection that I'm making, quickly all of that real time, and put a stop to it. And this cannot happen without deep learning and machine learning. So that's the first thing I would say. Defenses are AI driven, and very rich telemetry coming in, and that's something which we take a lot of pride in doing. The second thing is 96% of the enterprise today are going to adopt Gen AI. It's a given, right? We all spoke about it in various ways and stuff. How do you ensure that you're securing those AI models from the start? Because you're going to use some LLM models. You're going to use that on some infrastructure, and most importantly, you're going to train that on some data. How do you ensure that you're protecting all of that? How do you ensure that that data is not poisoned, it's not biased, there's no prompt engineering attack? How do you ensure that your employees are not in we talk about shadow AI, in their innocent thing, they're not sending confidential sensitive data out using some AI tool? So securing that AI model is number two. And last but not the least, and this is my favorite, is how do you make cybersecurity simpler? Can you use or make it more human? So can we use co-pilots? Can we use generative AI to come in and start asking very simple questions? We don't have to depend on very deep researchers in cybersecurity to come in. Anyway, there is a dearth of people there. So how do you make that simplified? How do you make sure that by human, normal, natural language, you give an entire picture of the threat landscape, where your protection is, and how do you make that detection and response far easier? So that in a nutshell is, if I have to sum it up, the prevention mechanism needs to be AI driven. Your models, the AI models, needs to be secured by design. And finally, you need to make cybersecurity far more simpler using Gen AI.
All right. I think you kick-started with a very relevant example wherein everybody is in the mood of being the champions this year. And you've actually concluded it on a very, a sensible note of how things should be, taken care of. Coming on to the next trending thing that we are actually seeing in today's time is smart technology, sustainability, and wherein everybody, all the organizations are trying to put in their best efforts to work in and around it. Now, IoT is also one of the most important technologies, and when you actually sync that up with AI, there is a different set of technological advancement that actually comes into picture. Anita, smart technology actually is a real hype in the market right now, and all of us know about it. Can you please throw light on the concept of IoT and hyperconnectedness in AI integrated devices for us?
Yeah, of course. I mean, wonderful listening to other panelists. So this actually brings a lot of thoughts in my head. First of all, let me begin with saying IoT is not a new concept. It has been there since 1980s. The fact that we can connect a physical device with a sensor or a software or other technologies together and have some exchange of data, that was the primary thought that was put together for IoT, okay, to get some benefit, some business problem solved, or some ease of use. So it began with a simple Coca-Cola vending machine where the inventories can be tested, or that kind of business case that was. But going to hyperconnectedness, as we and hyperconnectedness is even further, like 1950s, 60s. So where the integration of the systems came together, right? The devices, the integration or the data exchange or the platforms together. That is the whole concept of, I would say, hyperconnectedness. Now, when we combine this with IoT, the data started flowing from one platform to another and one device to another, and then we could actually make use of that. And internet really added a tadka or a flavor to it, because then we could actually explode it. We could distribute it to wider people. Now comes AI. AI is, as we all know, this is nothing new, and Deepak spoke about it. It is not a new concept. We are seeing around, and a lot of businesses are struggling to get the use cases to get Gen AI or AI into the systems, but this has been there forever. Now think of combining all three of them together. There is real-time data analysis that we can do. We can provide the intelligence of the data and making the autonomous decision. There is minimal human intervention required. If wherever there is a possibility, we could actually automate that. And the best part about it is now we are learning. Whether it is a mistake, whether it is a good thing or a bad thing, we are learning from it. It is bringing a lot of efficiencies and personalizations. So let me quote one. Last week when I was going through some of the news, I saw that 19-year-olds from MIT have developed a glove, which when you actually move the sign language, it converts it into words. So imagine for the deaf and the mute. So now what we are doing, we are adding a purpose to it. It is coming and creeping into our lives. The smartwatch, I don't know how many stories we have over internet where it has told that it has saved lives. So is it a hype? I would say no, it is a reality. It has become a reality. Now there are always upsides and downsides to it. Now I see a lot of people getting addicted. Oh my God, my heart rate is going up. Is there something happening to me? All that concept will be there. But coming down to your smart homes, the security element, smart secure homes, there are kitchen appliances. We all know there are retail shops where you don't need people to do your checkouts. You just come in, you pick up your stuff and walk out, and there will be auto detect. So all these companies are looking at how we can leverage these technologies together, put it all in a box. And when we add it to AI, think about the predictions, the ability to predict, ability to do a lot more than what we can do today. So quite a few things that we are doing. We are talking about smart self-driving cars. So imagine the whole world. So I would say this is a different world altogether from where the concept started. The concept started as some business problem being solved. Now where we are taking it to a real world purpose driven use cases. The healthcare has really benefited out of it. People are benefiting, right? There are so many, and I have live example of people putting their glucose monitors. These are the day-to-day things that we are talking about. So technology is not that far, is what I'm trying to come to. Where it has come in is it is in our day-to-day lives. It has crept in. And in service now, we call it the art of possible. You name it, you can do it. So if you can think it, you can do it. And I think that is the power of AI, IoT, and the hyper-connectedness has brought us all together to think beyond what is there today and add it to a purpose. We will get to something which is absolutely innovative, and it can change the world. I think that is where we are heading today.
Thanks, Anita. I think that the concept was very well explained, and thank you for taking back us in time and how actually the level of awareness has changed over the years for us, and then when we started putting in the right way, the right method that has been into the market. Very much related to what Anita has just mentioned. Rahul, I would like to move to you. So since we are covering up things for our tech professionals and we're trying to highlight things for them, I'm coming to that point here that, with IoT and hyperconnectedness in AI integration devices, how do you think it has actually changed the entire dynamics of the market for the tech professionals here?
Sure. Thanks, Sukriti. I think that's a very relevant question indeed. As Anita mentioned, right, like, the hyper-connectedness of devices is definitely an emerging trend, right? Like by integrating IoT with AI, we are increasingly witnessing new generation of high quality applications and services, right? Whether it's glucose monitoring or other things that are there, right? Now, professionals who are on this webinar working in this field, they must consider few fundamental aspects while developing such applications and services. So I'll talk about three such things, right? The first thing first is really understanding the fundamental of distributed systems, right? These IoT devices exemplify distributed systems that coordinate with each other or a central service, that can facilitate the information flow or the decision making, right? So when you are building all of these applications, there is a lot of excitement and so on, but it's also equally important to adhere to the principles of such distributed systems like consistency, availability. When you are designing these systems, please keep those things in mind, right? So that's number one. Number two, I would say, is resource efficiency, right? Many of these AI capabilities that are running or operating on the edge or on the IoT devices, they have limited computing resources, whether it's CPU, memory, storage, and so on, right? So when you are designing these systems, make sure that they can function effectively under this resource constrained kind of environment, right? So that's really essential. And then the third one, I think some of my panel members already alluded to in earlier conversation, low latency requirements, right? So hyper-connected devices frequently require rapid response times, right? How quickly you can respond back, right? So when you are building these systems, the professionals must factor in these latency requirements and make sure that the system can really meet the SLAs that you are promising, right? So in summary, all of these technical areas you need to keep in mind while developing AI services across these IoT devices. But above and beyond this, I think you should also prioritize the understanding of the customer's challenges when designing such solutions, right? That's really at the center of everything, right? So empathizing for the users of such hyper-connected technology will definitely help you build delightful and successful application and services, right? So that's where I'll keep it.
Thanks, Rahul. I think we pretty well started with your expertise and highlighting what the tech trends will be for 2024 and in the coming years, and then deep diving into how the entire co-pilot thing is working for the developer landscape, and Akhilesh highlighted how the economical as well as the behavioral science is important for people to understand and know things better. Josefa very well talked about the defense mechanism and how things can be worked out and what is exactly the fundamental that one should look at. Anita very well highlighted, from the past to the present, building a real good contrast of how things started and how we've started implementing, and how you've concluded it up with a very, very sensible note here, wherein we understand the customer's needs and we try and implement things that are actually being used and being utilized in a manner that gives them the ultimate satisfaction. Because for most of the organizations today, CRM is of utmost importance. So it's like a chain. It's like a chain that we're trying to build together with all the technology in today's time. Now, before I conclude the show and before I ask for your closing remarks, let me just quickly have a look at the questions in case if you have any relevant ones. Okay, would you like to answer anything about the dark web? Because I have a question from Asha. She says, considering the growing security threats such as those from the dark web, how do you think AI can help us?
Maybe I
That's
can
for
try and
yeah, both
okay.
Akhilesh and Joseph are there as the experts, so why don't we let them do it?
Yes. Akhilesh, you should go ahead.
Yes, so good question. I think dark web is becoming more and more important for bad actors to communicate and collaborate. Unfortunately, like our what I would call the good web, it is not as easily indexed, crawlable, and searchable. And therefore, it is not a limitation of technology, but it's a limitation of the architecture of how it is. Can it help? Can AI help? Certainly, AI can help, but can AI dramatically change the protection landscape just because you happen to use AI for dark web? The answer is no. What it could do is potentially two options. One is that it can, if you are a member of some of those dark web chat rooms, the AI can allow you to kind of filter, summarize, and identify potential pattern keyword-based searches. And then the second thing what it can do is it can also potentially engage as needed to before something goes wrong, because in the dark web, one of the things is also to make sure that you get to the right response and negotiation first. So those are the two areas where AI can help, but I would say it's a dark web is a different problem altogether.
Josefa, would you like to add something?
No, I think I concur with what Akhilesh said. That you can't. There's no mechanism to go and try and crawl and figure out. But there are mechanism, and now increasingly, and that's very interesting. The tools, the security tools, are now capable to also go and figure out what's the top trends, what are the set of data being exposed there, what kind of tools and techniques and procedures that's been popular over there in terms of getting that, and then incorporate some of that into the defense mechanism. But that incorporation, learning and incorporation is very AI driven. So that's a lot of relevancy coming in from that perspective. So yin and yang, right? The dark webs are using AI to, as I said earlier, right, to cause harms. But then, we're trying to be one step ahead and see where is it that that's the thing in cybersecurity. It's not about, and again, I'll give another sports analogy, right? It's not about figuring out where a football is Euro going on. It's not about figuring out where the ball is right now. It's where the pass is going to be. So we are already ahead, thinking ahead in terms of where the ball is going to land and how do you ensure.
All right, I have a career-related question, Josefa, when it comes to cybersecurity. There's Teja Venkatasai who asks, can a fresher be hired as a cybersecurity analyst?
Oh, interesting question. And if you had asked this question maybe 2 years back, I would have said no. Now, with the advent of analytics coming into the picture, see, what's the role of the analyst? The analyst's role is to figure out what these alerts are and try and make and stitch an incident that correlate in terms of, hey, there's something happening here, there's something happening, there is something happening here. Let me try and make sense of these and figure out, oh, that's triaging is done and there's a incident which happened. With the number of attacks, the number of tools and the alerts which is getting generated in these times, obviously the environment is used, attack surface, humanly not possible for the triaging to be done by somebody sitting behind a desk. So the first thing is the machine starts coming in and make a lot of sense around these, stitch the data. Machine does that. Machine also does that. Hey, this is what the pattern I'm seeing and this is what you should be do. Human element should be coming in at the last in terms of only in those few cases, and I think that's where the freshers should now, my sincere advice is, and I think Akhilesh also hinted some time back, that the tools are going to get evolved and all. You need to be on top of how to use them, what's the best way to make sense of them, rather than getting into the nitty-gritty part of it. It's all about leveraging analytics, AI power, and doing those. So very much possible, and I would say that's likely the next hot area in terms of how you use the tools and your mechanism to sort of defend against this. Looks like a lot of cyber
Oh,
enthusiasts on this.
yeah. I have a question for quantum as well. Rajesh asks, please tell us how can we upgrade our skills and knowledge in quantum computing, computers, to do some research as well as from the career perspective.
Well, I know I talked about quantum computing earlier in my section when I talked about it. I think the main thing is in terms of ability to be able to, as AI becomes even more advanced, as actually we get advanced machine learning models. I think what it allows us to do is to be able to run those problems on the computing frameworks that can actually give us the power that we need, right? I think somebody else also mentioned in terms of, especially in the era of where you want the edge computing, the IoTs, and then what power you need to be able to process the data. The one theory of being able to go to the data versus bringing the data to the power of processing it, right? All of those actually, I think, are making significant advancements, especially with the use of quantum computing. I think in terms of cryptography is one area where I know quite a bit of research is being done using quantum computing. Material science, drug discovery, because of the amount of research you actually have to do in being able to take a drug from being a molecule to really create a drug that is consumable, takes, I don't know, even now it takes 10, 15 years to be able to get through that, right? The amount of research that you want to be able to do, especially at the DNA levels, especially the genome sequencing and what have you, can actually use quantum computing to be able to make life-changing things in terms of breakthroughs that can actually happen. So I personally believe there is a lot of promise in terms of what quantum computing can bring in the next few years as we move forward.
Okay, I think this should be the last one for the day. Rahul, I think for me this is very interesting. Rahul says, if AI is prevalent everywhere, does this mean there are no opportunities in the market for the newcomers? It seems like the available positions are primarily for the senior roles. How should one approach learning AI to navigate this landscape?
Okay, I think it's a
I
little
get it.
long.
I said
Yes,
Maybe use AI to figure it out.
yeah. So I kind of touched base upon it in the beginning. I think AI is there to help. Let's understand what we are kind of looking for AI to contribute in. It is not that it is going to take away jobs or entry-level jobs. There is definitely a scope for everyone in that in that journey that we are taking together. Not all organizations are aware of how to use AI as well. So that is a hard reality. People are still figuring out the use cases, the valid use cases, and a lot of research is being done. So whether it is Gen AI, whether it is AI, so there are enough and more that we can do. And definitely we need fresh perspective. Like I mentioned, the 19-year-olds are building the gloves. Imagine, they are young, they are looking at things differently, they are talking about real world problems. So I think that is what the awareness gets us into. So AI is not just to implement the technical aspect, but to look around and see where I can contribute and do the innovation. There are, as I speak with you all here, there are 10 startups mushrooming with brilliant ideas. So everybody needs, hands and heads together. So this myth, I think, definitely needs to be busted, that there are not enough scope for the newcomers or the freshers to come in and contribute. There is enough for everyone. That's my 2 cents.
I would love to add to Anita's thing, right? Anita earlier mentioned about the art of possibilities. I think that's what people need to embrace. There is so much possible that wasn't actually. So especially people who are coming out of college and learning new technologies, what have you. Definitely, there is a place to be able to think about in terms of how is it opening up my horizon. So look at the art of possibilities. The second thing I will take from Rahul, who actually mentioned about building distributed systems, very fundamental computer science, if you will, that is not going to go away. You need, the AI is just not out of the blue going to build you, scalable, distributed systems that you can actually build everywhere, right? I mean, you've got to, bring the human brain to be able to do those kind of things. So the higher order kind of stuff. I would just, with those two comments, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I'll probably add one more thing on top of this. I think pretty much everything is summarized here. Look, I think AI is a tool at the end of the day, right? You should look for opportunities and problems that you can make better, and those are everywhere, right? When you browse a website, when you participate in a social media, there's a lot of free data that's available, right? Like in some sense, right? You could look at what's happening, right? And then start creating hypotheses. How do you actually solve some of those problems? And look, I think this generation is probably privileged that you don't really need humongous amount of data to get started with AI, because with foundational models that are out there, you could get started right away, right? So I think have those fundamentals in place. Over a period of time you will pick up, right? So don't worry too much about on the fear of missing out, right? So that's what I would say.
See, for me, my market research completely says that it's here to ease your job and not take it away. So that's my understanding of AI as far as various fields are concerned. And okay, with this, I think we conclude the show. But before I actually wrap it up and before I say goodbye to our audience, I would like to have one round of closing remarks from each one of you, and how you thoroughly enjoyed the conversation and what is that is waiting for us. Deepak, let's start with you.
Oh, great. Just like what we've been talking about all hour. Thank you for having me on the show, first of all, and thank grateful to be here. I would probably just close by saying, and that the evolution always happens, has happened for centuries. It will continue to happen. We always figure out how to go through it and then come out better at the end of the day. Dark web or not, I think humans have the potential to be able to get there. So that's, I think we just need to keep marching.
Thanks, Deepak. Rahul.
Yeah, I think a lot of good discussions that happened. My 2 cents would be just be curious and be driven by purpose. Rest of the other things, tools, technologies, processes, new areas of sciences will keep coming up. Who knows what kind of tools and technologies that we'll be talking about 5 years from now, right? So just be curious and be driven by purpose. That will take you through.
Thank you. Anita.
I would say my faith and my beliefs got reinstated or confirmed, because absolutely required. Technology is not going away. AI is not taking away anything. But like Akhilesh mentioned, understand the behavior, learn the behavioral skills. Rahul mentioned about the purpose. So we need to put it all together as a package. It is not just I will get X problem and I have to resolve it. Ask the why behind it. I think that is something that we all need to put it all in front, and rest will follow, whether it is economics or whether it is negotiation. We will learn. It is a journey for everyone. I definitely resonate with all the points made by panelists, so thank you very much. I learned something too. Thank you.
Akhilesh.
I read a quote many years ago when I was growing up. It said that everything that should be invented has been invented. And I can tell you how wrong that is every single day.
Exactly.
We may need a lot of new stuff, and we will do it. And my closing remark is future is bright.
Thanks. Josefa.
Yeah, thanks first of all for having me here and listening to all of you. I think again, I concur, it's a learning, but for everyone out there, I am just excited. I think I feel privileged that we had an industrial revolution, we had computer or internet revolution, and we're just witnessing one of the biggest revolution right now happening right in our lives. Just embracing that, embracing change, moving with an open heart and ensuring open mind and do that. I strongly recommend, and I strongly recommend going through one tiny book which I keep reading and rereading. It's like half an hour, 45 minutes. Who moved my cheese? it's such a significant, profound thing in terms of where you're sitting right now and where you need to start moving and look. And in this era, it's so relevant. So I just want to end with that.
Thank you, Zipa. Thank you so much.
Add to that, there is a 15-minute
Yes.
YouTube video on whom
Summarize.
might.
Yes,
Oh, that is
exactly.
amazing. If you don't have the time to read it all, just go through that. That will summarize it and beautifully. Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody. So for me, the year 2024 and beyond actually promises, a lot of tech innovations and trends across various industries. And we'll see and use technologies where, we could not even have imagined a few years back. Now, as tech enthusiasts, will continue to push the boundaries, of technology advancements and discover, ample developments happening all out there. However, it is very essential to use the power of technology wisely and responsibly to make the world safer, brighter, and of course, more sustainable for the future generations. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Usefa and Akhilesh for giving such wonderful insights in today's conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We have recorded this conversation for everybody. It will be available in 24 hours on the same webinar page. Thank you so much once again. This is your host signing off. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.